Welcome to the No More Late Fees podcast. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Jackie. And we're just two best friends and ex-Blockbuster employees rewatching some of the best and worst movies from the late 90s and early 2000s. We did it. We made it to our 1-year anniversary.
Yay.
So exciting. That was like the bare minimum goal we kind of set out for ourselves. And we're here. And we couldn't go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I guess we have to set new goals.
Yeah. Reach higher in 2022.
Yeah.
Season 2. So welcome to season 2. We did it. We made it to our 1-year anniversary. And we couldn't think of a better movie to celebrate and kick off our second season than the 1999 teen rom-com Drive Me Crazy.
It's important to state that this movie is a quintessential Jackie and Danielle movie. So
it is.
It was a no-brainer to do this one as our season 2 opener and anniversary movie. But before we dive in, let's get into some housekeeping. If you love the podcast and you want to support us, we wanted to give you guys a few ways to be able to do that.
Yes, one is you can become one of our Patreon besties. You can gain access to exclusive content, stickers, Ask Me Anythings, polls, bonus videos, live Spotify playlists, and our newest segment, Closing Time, where we kind of just chill out with some of our past guests and friends. So just head on over to patreon.com/no-more-late-fees.
And gas prices being what they are, if money is tight, no worries. You can actually help us by writing us a review. Did you know writing a review and or rating us helps us get more listeners? Here's a great one that was actually left on Podchasers. Now, I think it's Shay 1991. I started listening to this podcast last month and have been enjoying it so far. Danielle and Jackie's dynamic makes each episode fun and engaging. There are a lot of movie podcasts out there, but what I like about this one is their chemistry, i.e. they have
creativity.
Oh, I can't see. I saw C and I made it work. Okay. What I like about this one is their creativity, i.e. they have trailer episodes before releasing main episodes that introduce the guests, co-hosts, and movie that they'll be reviewing. My favorite episodes so far are the ones they did on the Babysitters Club, The Princess Diaries, and She's All That. Check them out on YouTube and Instagram. That's right, we are on YouTube and Instagram.
Even gave us a social plug.
Love it, at No More Late Fees. If you want to be featured and help us grow, head to Apple, Spotify, Podchasers, Good Pods, or your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. It really does help.
And our most exciting piece of housekeeping, we have merch coinciding with our 1-year anniversary. We finally have our own shop. Head on over to redbubble/people/no-more-late-fees. You can get stickers, magnets, notebooks, leggings, water bottles, makeup bags, shower curtains, bedspreads if you'd like some home decor, and of course, apparel. So check us out and order something. Treat yourself.
All right, now that we've gone through a little bit of our housekeeping, Jackie, tell the people about Drive Me Crazy.
So Drive Me Crazy is about Nicole, played by Melissa Joan Hart, and Chase, played by Adrian Grenier, I think I'm saying that name right, who live next door to each other but are worlds apart. However, they plot a scheme to date each other in order to attract the interest and jealousy of their respective romantic prey. But in the midst of playing pretend, they realize the one was closer than they ever thought. It starring Melissa Joan Hart, Adrian Grenier, Susan May Pratt, Kris Park, Ali Larter, Mark Webber, Keri Lynn Pratt, and Jordan Bridges. The screenplay was by Rob Thomas and Todd Strasser. Is that Veronica Mars?
It sure is. I'm glad you brought that up. So if you don't know, Jackie and I are huge Marshmallows. We love Veronica Mars. And Rob Thomas is the genius behind that, Party Down, and so many other
iZombie.
iZombie, great TV and movie writer. And it's funny enough, he actually started, I think he used to be like a YA writer or something. So he's been giving it to us for a long time.
No wonder we like this movie. It was directed by John Schultz, and you can watch it on Tubi. Remember, platforms take movies on and off all the time. So right now it's on Tubi. Who knows where it'll be next week? But before we start, let's get into our ratings rewind.
So, you know the drill. Before we get into the movie, we'll reveal the rating our Y2K versions of ourselves would give. Then at the end, we'll see if our current selves agree with our initial rating. Our scale consists of would buy it again.
The best, would play on repeat.
5-day rental.
Would watch again.
2-day rental.
Okay, but nothing to write home about.
And same-day rental.
Trash. Straight up. Alicia, is that her name? She is a garbage human.
Yes.
Same-day rental with her.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Jackie. So what is your Y2K rating?
Y2K Jackie obviously loved it. It is a would buy.
Yes, same here. But if you agree with our Y2K rating or absolutely disagree with our Y2K rating, head to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok. Leave us a comment, DM us, and let us know at No More Late Fees. Now, I think we saw this movie, was it after Homecoming? Because it came out in October.
Yeah, it would have had to have been after Homecoming or senior year.
Yeah. Oh, good times, great memories. Well, from a box office standpoint, see, I feel like this movie in the teen genre of things from that time period, because it came out in 1999, it gets overlooked a lot. I think now as time has passed, you see more people talking about it, but back then it was never really considered like one of the teen movies that everyone was obsessed with. I'm glad to see it's getting its due because it was decent.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
Toxic as all get out, but
Yeah.
it was a fun movie. And I did have the movie poster from the movie theater on my wall pretty much until after.
So the budget for this movie was $8.5 million, and it made about $22.6 million worldwide.
Not terrible.
No. You know, it had a small budget, so it was able to recoup it back. It opened the same weekend as the movie Three Kings with Mark Wahlberg and George Clooney. It opened in 720 fewer theaters than that movie. So it wasn't even a full wide release, it seems. And it opened at number 6 here in the US for a weekend gross of about almost $7 million. And then it went on to gross about $17 million in both the US and Canada, and about another, I think, 4.7 million internationally, for a worldwide total of $22.6 million. But due to its low budget of the 8.5 million, the picture did recover its costs, like I said.
Nice.
When doing the research for this, from a casting standpoint, I thought there would be really fun tidbits, but not much. So I always get really excited when I'm like, who could have played who? I think there's only one particular situation here. So,
well, yeah, I think I'm assuming Melissa Joan Hart was the draw. It was kind of they wanted her from the beginning, is what I would assume. Just because she was doing Sabrina at the time.
Yeah.
And so she was a household name. I don't recall seeing Adrian Grenier in anything before this.
He was in some indie stuff, but yeah, it was really her. But the producers said they liked her because she was so average.
Oh, what a backhanded compliment that was.
Well, relatable, I guess. She felt like a normal teenager.
But I mean, you can phrase it better. You can just be like, oh, we want you to be relatable, instead of oh, You're average.
I don't think they told her that, but I mean, they did say it in one of the interviews that I read. So, I mean, but you know what? Later on, we find a few things that Melissa Joan Hart said about just other famous people. So maybe she deserved it.
I mean, we too are not innocent in
No.
judging people.
No, we make an entire podcast on such. So we cannot throw stones. Definitely. All right, so let's get into it. Well, it starts with her getting ready for school.
Yes, and she's talking to her friend Alicia. Is that her name?
Alicia, bitch, whatever you want to call her.
Oh, she is awful, and she talks in fucking newspaper headlines, and she loves an alliteration, and she's fucking toxic as hell. Anyway, Nicole is asking her if she should wear her mom's red halter. I'm going to put up a visual of this red halter because no school in America will let you walk in looking like that. And I mean, I'm all for parents retaining their own identity when they have kids, but that halter was barely a piece of fabric.
What I think is hilarious is that she had a cutout picture of it and had it glued to the mirror. Like she had her whole life on the mirror. It was real like you need therapy vibes, but I wasn't sure if it was the exact halter that she had or if it was one she cut out of the magazine that was inspiration. Maybe Nicole was Pinterest before Pinterest.
She had a vision board. It just happened to be on her mirror.
Yeah. So Melissa Joan Hart was interviewed because this movie's 20th anniversary was a few years back. And she said that still blows her mind. That was a costume choice for her because there's no school in America that would have let her wear that halter to school, nonetheless, an interview on the school. What was it? Like TV show?
It was like the morning news show.
Yeah.
And she was wearing it to gain the attention of Brad, the star basketball player. If toast were a person, it would be Brad.
Bag of rocks is what I called him when we were watching. A little bag of rocks, a large bag of rocks, because he's very tall, but he's not bright in the slightest. And he was giving me the casting director or the producer was like, I want a Backstreet Boy look-alike.
Yeah.
I want a boy band look-alike, but dumb.
But yeah, just sit there and look pretty.
Yeah, but he's not pretty. That was the other thing. Even when the movie came out, I was never attracted to him. But you know who was? Melissa Joan Hart.
Oh yeah, I just saw that she hooked up with him on the set.
Yeah.
What's his real name? What's your real name, pretty boy?
Is it Brad or is that in the movie? It's in the movie.
That's in the movie. I don't think he even made top billing. It just says Gabriel here.
Gabriel is his first name. I don't know what his last name is. So yeah, she let it slip on an Entertainment Tonight interview that she hooked up with Gabriel, and Adrian Grenier actually was hooking up with Larter. So they literally were living out their, film in real life. Tragic.
Weird, man.
So she's getting ready. She's got her red halter top. The next scene we see her is at school, right? They're walking out of the parking lot into school, and she's pretty much just talking about how she's got to get Brad.
Yeah, whole life's mission to get Brad. She seems to be she's not the anchor of the news show, but she does news packages.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason she's being interviewed is because she's in charge of planning the centennial.
That's true.
Yes.
Well, she's not in charge though, because in a later scene, she's the treasurer in charge of the money.
Maybe she's on the committee. She was the person to ask because Sue is already on the show.
Maybe.
So who knows?
I did write, I wished our TV production studio looked like that. Ours was low budge in comparison.
Did you guys, okay, so I'm legit asking a question. Did you guys, I mean, I know you guys did like our senior video and stuff, but did we have a show at school?
Yeah, every Friday afternoon.
Really?
Yeah.
What y'all were talking about?
I'm pretty sure we did some packages on the construction being done whilst we were students, because fun fact, our school named for an environmentalist, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. If you haven't seen the drunk history on her, what are you doing? Stop, pause us and go and watch that, because
That shit is hilarious.
Environmentalist, conservationist, badass lady. They literally built a school and named it after her in the middle of the Everglades, like literally swampland.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't a smart idea. And
No.
the school, they also put the library on the second story above the kitchen. So the two heaviest parts of the building, everything started sinking. And and because the buildings were sinking, the stucco started falling off the side of the building. I'm sure I have photos of it somewhere. It was just a hot mess. So I think starting our sophomore year, they brought in construction crews to fix the stucco. I don't know if they fixed the actual problem. I'm assuming so. But literally our entire high school career from sophomore to senior grades, we had construction workers all around us, catcalling us. Like, it was highly uncomfortable. So yeah, we did new packages about that during Holiday of Lights at Trade Winds. We did a package about that. I'm sure I could dig up some of my old news. I think we did one about why is it so cold in the English hallway. Really riveting journalism.
Hard-hitting news. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I think I kind of remember there being some sort of thing, but I didn't know it was every Friday.
Every Friday. And there were 2 advanced TV production classes. And so we would switch on and off. So every other week, my class was in charge of the news. So you had 2 weeks essentially to do the next news. And everyone had roles. Like I subbed in for anchor a couple of times, but mostly I was like a reporter, and I was the one on camera.
I feel so bad. I was not supporting you. Supporting you in the slightest. But you know what? No, well, that was only so junior year and senior year. HOSA was my last class, and I was off campus. So I was.
It was the very end of the day on Fridays too.
Yeah. So I wasn't. So sophomore year was the only year I would have caught that.
It's all right. I got my tapes. I'll send you a few packages so you can see this journalism that I took so seriously. Yeah.
I will schedule that in.
Ken was also in TV productions, so it's a family trait.
A match made in heaven, I tell you that. Wow.
Yep. I loved TV productions, and I'm still friends with a lot of people that I was in TV productions with.
So yes, she goes in her halter. Nobody stops her. She's presenting she's talking about the bicentennial dance, which is inviting it's like their prom, but it's also with parents and other
because it's
alumni.
It's the
100th year
anniversary of their school. So yeah, like parents are invited, like everyone's invited to go, and they have to like present a gift, and they want a Brandy cover band, which okay.
In that time period, that makes 100% sense.
But it's not a cover band. It's like you get
it's someone, an artist. Yeah.
It was very extra. And I would like to say that this movie, Chase and Nicole live in just average houses, it seems. Yeah. But it seems like this school is full of bougie ass kids.
Yeah, I was surprised there wasn't like a rich kid, poor kid element
Mhm.
in the situation. But I could see Nicole being maybe not, I mean, poor is a strong word.
So we're introduced to Nicole and what she's kind of about, and she's very much on committees and she seems to be fairly popular and not like the most popular girl in school, but she has a good friends group. And then we see Chase and Dulcie, who are a couple. Dulcie is played by Allie Larter.
She's got her hair very 90s Kool-Aid dyed, it seems.
Yes. And she's dressed kind of emo.
She needs a bath. She looks a little dirty. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So they're making out in the janitor's closet, and she wants Chase to come with her to some club that afternoon. And so then we see them in the club. And the note I took for this scene was, I hate a beatnik cafe.
I feel like this whole movie, I try to think back, like we didn't have this much access to alcohol in the sense that we went to public places and were able to just get alcohol. They are just drinking away in this movie.
The place, so I don't think this place is the same place they end up later, because the club or whatever that they end up later to see a band feels very much like the club where in 10 Things I Hate About You, where they see Letters to Cleo. Okay. Hold, please. Okay. I realized we forgot a part at the beginning. So after Nicole is finished deciding what she's going to wear, she goes downstairs, and her mom and Chase's dad are talking over the fence.
And she's looking for her red halter, and he's waiting for the milk for the cereal.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's how we're introduced to the fact that Chase and Nicole are neighbors, and their interaction is kind of like, hey. Like,
there's history there, but we don't know what
exactly.
it is.
Okay. So back to the cafe. There's a guy presenting, and Dulcie is very about activism and things like that. So there's a guy presenting on use of lab rats for medication and things like that. And so she's like, we really need to get on board with this. And Chase is like, not really into it. And she gets really high and mighty about it and ends up breaking up with him. And so then Chase is Lissad. And
that scene where he's walking around with the turtleneck on, which I'm like, is it cold enough for this? What's happening?
Who knows? He's just walking around with it, like a turtleneck pulled up over his face.
Yeah.
At school. At the same time, we see Nicole. I think she's at a basketball game. And so she's like, oh, there's Brad, blah, blah, blah. And then
we're introduced to Designated Dave, which is just Dave, but he is the team manager for the basketball team. And he also, we find out later that he drives I'm assuming his own car to help people when they're drunk, so they don't drink and drive. So Dave comes over to Alicia and says that he needs to talk to her, which makes Nicole a little scared, because there's something that happens when they're talking to each other, because she's going on and on about Brad and pretty much that she is the only choice that he could make. And then Nicole's friend Alicia corrects her and says the only choice. And then Nicole retorts, well, you said you weren't interested, which is a very important detail that will come up later.
Yes.
So she does get a little nervous, and you after learning that detail, you learn, okay, maybe she's nervous because maybe he likes Alicia, or Alicia, whatever her name is. So she goes off with Designated Dave, and then comes back and returns, and she lets Nicole know that he wants that Brad asked Dave to ask Alicia to ask Nicole if she'll go on a date with him, or I think even that night. And Alicia's bitch ass says if he wants to talk to her, he needs to be like, have the balls enough pretty much to come and, ask Nicole herself.
Mhm.
Which, if she wasn't a shitty friend, I would say he probably should, but I don't think I would have said that. Just be the in between person and let these two losers figure it out. But what a jackass she is.
Yeah. And there's also a scene. When did they do the sprinkler stuff? It's pretty
early on. I want to say that might actually happen before Dulcie breaks up with Chase. I think it happens that first day of school. And so everyone's like out on that. School looks massive, by the way.
It looks like 10 Things I Hate About You level school.
Okay. So remember when we were watching the movie and I said, where was this movie taking place?
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at the basketball team and said, there's not a lot of Black players on these teams. I said, I bet you they're in Utah. Tell me why they're in Utah. They filmed the movie in Utah. Y'all looked at me like I was crazy, but I was peeping game. So it was weird because they do have a few diverse characters that have some speaking roles. So it's not the worst. But I think I was just looking at the basketball team and just saying, the math is not mathing here. So, yeah.
Yeah. So after we see Nicole on the news, Chase and his friend Dave, who we formally get introduced to later on, and his other friend, still don't know his name. Don't know. Ray. Ray is his name.
I was gonna say he does have a name.
He does. He's just, I don't know. I think because Designated Dave is such an iconic name, like Ray gets lost in the.
They say Ray's name a lot, though.
It's just that guy that puts the glasses on when he's in trouble. So Chase, Ray, and Dave sneak into the sprinkler system housing and pour orange dye into the sprinkler system. And so all of I'm assuming seniors are out on the quad, and somehow then they get up to the roof to watch. And Ray always has his camera with him, his video camera.
Yeah.
And so they record as they watch the sprinklers go off and everyone gets like sprayed with this orange dye, and it's hilarious. And so they get called into the principal's office, and the principal is so odd.
He's very weird. He does give me I feel like the principal in this movie could be married or dating the principal in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yes. And he looks very sweaty all the time.
I also I don't know if it was the angle, but it looked like he had really dark makeup on. It was weird. I don't know what was going on there. And he's not in much of the movie. I think we don't see him again really after this scene.
Until the end.
Until the end when he's announcing the Miss and Mr. Time Zone. Yeah. So pretty much he pulls the three usual suspects. If these are the worst students at the school, the bad kids, that's saying a lot. And so Chase and Ray automatically, they're going to get in trouble. But somehow Dave is known to just be pulled into, he has no backbone apparently. But I just was trying to understand what was the motivation behind this prank.
I think it was just to get footage. That's the only thing I can think of is Ray we come to find out has been working on this masterpiece the entire time. And I think it was just to get footage and just to play a prank and watch the pretty people scramble getting dye all over themselves.
My question is, if these are the pretty people, but I would have been pissed if that happened to me, because one, you would have messed up my clothes, not a fan, and you would have gotten my hair wet. Also, we would have fought out. I would have been waiting for Ray after school.
I know it was you. I saw you with that damn camera.
Get this on film, motherfucker. And I would beat his ass for sure.
So at the same basketball game where we kind of play this telephone situation with Dave and Alicia, Brad knocks into one of the rival cheerleaders on accident and kind of helps her up, and they kind of make eyes at each other. So now we're at this house party. Nicole is when does she
they go, I think they go to get something to eat before they go to the party or something, because somebody has to tell her that Brad fell into the girl or likes the girl or something happened.
Yeah, I know. So Alicia informs Nicole that Brad, the cheerleader that Brad knocked into, now they're going to
the Centennial.
together.
Is it
It's not a bi? No, it's just
a Centennial. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bi would have been 50 years, right? Or 150. Bi meaning half or two.
I don't know.
You're supposed to know these things.
The bicentennial quarter, it must have been
200 years.
Yeah, because the bicentennial was in 1976, so that's 200.
Yeah.
Ooh, child, our math. So Alicia informs Nicole, like, hey, by the way, that plan not going to work. Brad's now in love with this cheerleader and they're going to Centennial.
But of course, she doesn't say it like a normal person. She reads it she says it like a headline.
Yeah, like star basketball player and rival cheerleader, blah, blah, blah. It's like, who the fuck talks this way?
She needs to work for that YouTube channel, Mojo or whatever, and give us all the facts.
Yeah. And Susan May Pratt, fantastic. Oh yeah, like this in center stage. Well, she was okay in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah, but she wasn't a bitch in that movie.
Yeah. So now we're at the house party. Nicole is upset and pissed off and all the things. They're playing Never Have I Ever. And it seems like they know Nicole a little too well because they're pretty specific with their Never Have I Ever.
Yeah, they're not nice to her.
No.
It's like they're all enjoying making her suffer. And at this point, she's not even really playing the game. She's just really, at one point, she throws caution to the wind and she just throws back all the drinks.
Yeah, she straight up grabs the pitcher of whatever they're drinking and drinks straight from the pitcher.
We do learn that she's kissed a girl, that she kissed Chase at the skating ring back in what, 5th grade, and she's used a toy with batteries to please herself. Some people that we know implied that maybe the producers were calling her a slut.
And I said there will be no slut shaming in this house. And whatever Nicole chooses to do if she explores her sexuality is her goddamn business.
But that person wasn't saying that they believed that she was a slut. They said the producers and the writers and directors were setting her up.
There was...
Get off that counter. Get down. Get off my counters. Get. All right.
So now Nicole is super wasted and they have to call Designated Dave. So Designated Dave shows up. Nicole is combative drunk.
Yes.
So she's put in the back. Dave's car has like wire mesh police car. Like, great.
So did the DARE program sponsor Dave? Like, what is this? What kid decides I'm going to get an old car, maybe a police car, and I'm going to start picking up people who are drunk, and everyone's supporting this, even though we are all underage.
Yeah, it feels like this should have been set in college, not high school.
Right.
It was weird.
So
And wasn't Chase along for the ride too? What?
Get out, I'm kidding. So brother gets up there, sister gotta get up there. Ain't nothing up there. Y'all just ate. Ain't no food up there.
They just check in. Making sure.
Sorry.
And Chase was along for the ride. He was just hanging out with Dave for the night, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And so, and Ray, they were all just driving around with Dave because
Yeah.
Ray has the camcorder with him. And so not only does Nicole get thrown in the back of the car, the paddy wagon,
So does Brad.
so does Brad. And Alicia does this like little like she such a fucking bitch, man. Such a bitch. Anyway, Nicole is like, so you just in love now? Like, this is what we gonna do? You better get me out of this car. She says, I'm gonna go Sean Young on your ass. Sean Young is who played Finkel is Einhorn, Einhorn is Finkel in Austin Powers, Ace Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
She is a lady, and I'm sure she could hold her own, but
well, from all the trouble that rumors, I'm not sure about her in Hollywood, Sean Young is not that far off from Sean Penn with The Rage. The other thing to note is that Alicia does speak in another goddamn headline when she sees these two get into the car. And some may say that she planned the whole interaction. I don't know how she would have.
No, I think she was she thrives on chaos and turmoil. And so she was very excited that Brad was being thrown in the car with Nicole.
Yeah.
Nicole also says one of my favorite things, which is tomorrow at Time Zone should be a real hootnut. And every time I get to that scene, it's just so perfect. I love it.
Okay. I'm so confused by this whole thing. So we did miss a scene there's a scene where Nicole, before the party, Nicole is waiting for her dad. So it does establish that her parents are divorced and her dad is supposed to meet her for their monthly meetings. And so she's eating fries. And the bag of rocks, Brad, he sees Nicole, walks up to her, and he's like, hey, Nicole. And she's like, hey, Brad, and I'm just waiting for my dad. She says this whole spiel. My dad is on his way, monthly meeting. He goes, well, I'm going to go get some kicks. Uh-huh. Do you want to come with me? Bitch, what'd I just say? I just said my dad is coming. So then she's like, well, my dad is coming. Would you prefer to eat these fries with me or tater tots, whatever the hell she was eating? He was like, nah, I don't want to interrupt. And he goes about his dumbass business. I just want to reiterate, bag of fucking rocks. Dumb. If that was the direction he was given, Oscar, they should have given it to him.
And then later that night and then later on in the afternoon, Alicia informs Nicole that Brad is now going to Centennial with the cheerleader girl. And then Nicole is at the party getting wasted. So the next scene, after Nicole is dropped off at her house, she is raging in her room now, pulls out the yearbook, starts like scratching people's faces out. Like she has this plan she's trying to figure out, or like she's starting to formulate a plan, I should say. But like, bitch, you're ruining your yearbook. You're going to regret those choices in the morning.
Maybe she gets a new yearbook. Maybe she has a backup.
Maybe.
Or maybe she has a Jackie that she knows is just going to have her yearbook later.
She comes across Chase's picture in the yearbook, and this is when the plan comes to focus. And so she's like, hey, he's busted up about Dulcie dumping him. I'm looking for revenge. So this is a perfect situation. Why don't we pretend to be together, make Dulcie jealous, make Brad jealous, and then we'll both eventually get what we want. So she calls him And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But she somehow convinces him, really just uses Dulcie as leverage, like, hey.
But I don't understand how she's like saying worried that she's going to be the laughing stock. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And I don't get it. It's not like her and Brad were not together. He didn't dump you in some like really embarrassing way. Y'all weren't even talking. Y'all weren't even talking. Nicole, baby girl. He won't even sit and eat tater tots with you. Just delusional as fuck. This is the premise when you think about it. Like Dulce and Gabbana makes sense, but not this shit.
Yeah. Well, and I really like that they're talking on the phone in this scene, but they're looking at each other through the window because their bedrooms face each other because they're next door neighbors, but they're still talking on the phone.
Yeah.
And afterwards, when she said her piece and like mic drop, she literally tries to set the phone on the windowsill, and it just
falls over.
It just falls out the window, and she goes to bed. And that's another excellent cinematic touch I love.
That she takes her shirt off and heads to her bed and passes out, doesn't take her makeup off. And when you said next door neighbors, it reminded me that's in Whatever It Takes. Didn't they have a similar scene where they were talking across the houses?
Yes, I haven't seen Whatever It Takes in so long, and so I'm eager to do that movie because I'm trying to hold off until we actually do it to rewatch it. But yeah, it's a pretty similar premise to this movie.
Yeah,
just more parties are involved in Whatever It Takes.
Yeah.
So the next day we get this montage of Chase and Nicole going to the mall.
My favorite scene. I don't know if it's the combination of the song. These cats are out here, okay? What are they doing? There's a drill up there. There's all sorts of things that can cut their little paws.
They're very gentle.
Oh, Jesus. Something is up on, they are very interested with something on the counter today. Sorry. So I don't know if it's a combination of the song, that they fall into the gap, the colors. I love how in the back of the elevator, there's like this sunrise or like orange situation. I love what Chase is wearing. I would have to say, and I did see a lot of discourse about this makeover is the worst makeover ever, because Chase
100%.
looks so much better before this Stepford Wives makeover that he gets. I liked his hair all shaggy. And Melissa Joan Hart agrees. She said she did not like the outcome of his makeover.
Yeah, it was just too far the other direction. Like they combed his hair and give him a weird part. Like it just didn't.
They should have just left his hair.
Yeah.
Left his hair alone. And I chose this background behind me of them having one of their dates after his makeover, but I thought Adrian Grenier was delicious. Beautiful human being. Chef's kiss. So this is just me pretending we're on our date.
Do you want to look at him? Smile.
Wait, which way?
That way.
Did I get him?
Oh my God, it was perfect.
That was me making out with Adrian Grenier, if you guys didn't know, if you can't see.
Watch on Spotify or YouTube because it was delightful. Now it's another.
It's all right. Let the narcolepsy come out.
Now it's another basketball game. Chase is with them. The dance team routines.
Okay, I saw this on the interwebs. Did they not have, I know the budget was low for the movie, But did you see the picture of the cheerleaders? It looked like a Walmart mashup in that bitch.
I
They were
literally-
all wearing different outfits. It was bad.
That's what I said. That dance routine was weak. Why weren't they in coordinating outfits? Like, at least choose a color palette.
It was weird. It was weird. Somebody was slipping that day on the job. Y'all don't got budget for this. Gap, I feel like the Gap was sponsoring this movie where
Yeah. Because they got the coordinating glasses and swim trunks later.
Yeah, and Nicole was wearing a khaki skirt, and I know
Mm.
that green shirt was from the Gap line. You can't tell
Yeah.
me any different.
So we see Chase, he kind of gets into the basketball game. He's like doing the go fight win cheers and chants, and he's getting into it and doing little dances and stuff. And so he's just enjoying himself, having a good time. Dave seems a little put out that Chase is with.
So the way that Dave finds out that Chase is now a part of the Pod People crew, he goes to go wipe up the sweat off of the basketball floor, and he looks up and sees his boy having
he's
the
just like,
time of his life.
Oh, it's so sad.
I think when I first saw this movie, I felt so bad for Dave, and I was like, oh, Dave. But now that I'm older, I'm like, get a life, Dave. Get a life.
And I wrote, counterculture is the same as mainstream. It's still a clique, just in the other direction. So like,
Yeah.
they get on to Chase, like, you've become one of them, you've assimilated. Well, like, the three of you are a clique. You guys are doing similar things and are similarly minded. It's just he went the other way. Like,
Well, I think so. What ends up happening sometimes too is that, especially that transition from elementary school to middle school, there's this split that happens in elementary school. Yes, there are kids who get made fun of and there are cliques, but it just becomes a little bit different. And I think it's the hormone factor, who becomes pretty and cute, who people are attracted to and who's not. And I think they bully or ostracize certain groups of people. And so those groups of people become friends, and they make fun of the other group of people, but it's because they were originally probably ostracized in the first place. I don't think it's just like this natural, split and they're just hating on each other. I think one group is probably not nice to the other group and purposefully excludes them. And then they counteract that by saying, well, I don't need them and I hate everything about you. It's counterintuitive, the whole process, but I don't think they shot the first fire, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So I also noted we never went to basketball games.
Girl, I don't know. Well, okay. Okay, that's not true. I did go to one basketball game, and I think it was the girls' basketball game. And I did go to one football game. I don't even know who I went with.
I think I went to 2 football games. I had to go to sports ball games because because I'm just generalizing, because in TV production you had to record 2.
Jackie.
So in TV production you had to record 2 sporting events a semester, I guess. And so I would have to go and record things, but a girl always thinking I would go record hockey, because you just set that shit up behind the goal, and then like at halftime you just switch,
right?
And so I could go and sit. Plus the majority of our friends were on the hockey team.
I know. I had to go to those fucking games when I was,
and it was in air
boy.
conditioning, so I wasn't out in the sun.
Yes.
So yeah. So apparently it's the thing to do in this town that after the basketball games, you go and cruise the strip.
Which was a call out to American Graffiti, 100%.
Yeah. And so Chase and Nicole are taking this newfound relationship out apparently Chase's dad must have like some sort of, Ken say was a Dodge. I don't know.
Blue
We had a
car with white strip.
convertible.
White strip and convertible blue car.
I think he said it might be a Bonneville. I don't know. Anyway, so they're cruising the strip. People are like driving by and honking and like woo woo we won. And
by now he has his nickname Handbone, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the Bridges guy calls him Handbone, which I think is a reference to dirtiness, but I'm not sure.
Well, his last name was Hammond. So
that's lame. That's like that kid that decided to call me Danielle full of jello as a way because he couldn't rhyme my name. Lame.
So Nicole tunes it to some oldies. And this is where Danielle and I get our song.
Yes. Our song is Keep On Loving You by REO Speedwagon.
And we sang this shit so fucking loud and so off key last night when we watched this movie. It was wonderful.
And I was surprised Jackie's husband did not know that was our song. And he was very perplexed by the singing as well.
It was fun.
It was. Sometimes it's playing randomly on the radio. I'll take a picture and send it to Jackie.
Yep. It's what keeps the love alive. So that Nicole's getting Chase to get into it, and they're singing and cruising, and then they end up at the scene behind Danielle, which is they're at kind of like the local burger spot.
Apparently this is a real hangout for some of the Utah kids. And also the driving scene is Melissa Joan Hart said it was her favorite scene in the movie. She really got into it. I think her and Adrian Grenier, or I don't even know if I'm saying Grenier, had like they had good chemistry and they got along a lot. She said that he was her favorite kiss, and they're still in touch. They are still friends after all these years, which I think is super nice.
That is really nice.
Yeah.
So this is where they start talking.
She calls him out, just what we were just talking about. She does call him out because he's kind of saying like he's not really getting much out of the situation, because I think he wants to go to a concert to meet up with his friends, and he's pretty much just saying that like he's doing everything with her friends and it's not really helping with Dolce and Gabbana. So they kind of talk about that, but then he was like us versus them, and she calls him out on, but I think he does. This is when he brings up a story that she wasn't always like this, and that she actually was the only person to give Dave a Valentine's Day card in like, I think 5th grade or one of the years when they didn't have to give it to everybody anymore. Mm-hmm. And she still gave one to Dave. So big ups for her being a decent human being at that age. So she agrees to go over to the club. I don't know what this is, the place where they go to the shows, so that, she's giving her part as much as he's going to all of her things.
And she goes and she has a good time. She kind of puts Dulcie's friends in their place when they're like trying to give Chase shit and stuff. Or like I think the one girl is kind of trying to scare her a little bit. And she's like, talks about her nipple rings, and Nicole's like, oh, lift up your shirt, let's get a look at them. And the girl's just like, so it kind of backfires, but Nicole can kind of hang and dish it out.
Yeah, she's been hanging out with Alicia all this time. She's learned some skills.
Yeah, definitely. And so and then Chase kind of, Dulcie walks in, and now she is with the guy that was giving the presentation about animal testing. Right. And so Dulcie, you can totally tell she kind of side eyes Chase and then kisses this guy, and Nicole is like,
sees it from the corner of the room. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, well, we can play it. Two can play this game. So she walks over to Chase and kisses him. And then that's the moment where you kind of see like this starts being real for her
Yeah.
after that kiss.
Because he's like masterful and she's still kind of in the moment, and she gets confused, like, what do you mean? And he's like, because, you know, look how mad Dolce con leche is, you know?
What else are we gonna call her in this episode? So the next day, Nicole, I don't know why kids in movies always be trying to have conversations during tests, but this girl is like, hey, Nicole, you with Chase? And she's like, oh, we're just friends, we're just hanging out, blah blah blah. And the girl's like, oh, okay, cool. And like, this conversation couldn't wait until the passing period. Like, the fuck you doing?
And it didn't even make any sense. Like, are you asking because you're interested in me? Are you asking because you're interested in Chase? You just a nosy bitch? Like, what?
Nothing comes of that conversation.
Her dad works at the studio. She got a line. That was it.
I was like, the studio with the electrocutes? I was so confused.
You looked confused. I
So
feel confused.
So the next scene is apparently Nicole's dad is an avid air ballooner. I don't know what you call those people. That sounds derogatory. Not those people, but like people who are avid balloonists. He doesn't make balloon animals. He flies in hot air balloons.
Yeah. Don't know what that was about. I don't know if he just is a traveler, but he's a good for nothing father. And unfortunately, he's played by a good for nothing asshole guy.
Woman.
Yeah. We don't have to go into it, but if you don't know, he played the dad on Seventh Heaven and had some awful, I can't even say allegations because he admitted
He fully
to them.
admitted to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is a beyond a garbage human being.
Yeah.
He is scum of the earth. And yeah, it's upsetting that he is in so many things that we love from the 90s. So
and he's, the funny thing is that he's married, and at this point in time, and when this movie was made, he's married to the woman who plays Nicole's mother. The cats don't like him either.
Yeah, that's Tom's opinion on him. So yes, Nicole has to go hot air ballooning with her dad. So he's like trying to apologize for being an absent father because he's just traveling all over the world in his hot air balloon, like the powerful Oz.
Is that what he's doing?
Yes, because in this conversation, he's like, hey, I want you to join me in Rio this summer. Or no, in 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
I don't think it was in the summer. It was like in 2 weeks. And she's like, fucker, I got school. Like, I can't just up and leave to go hot air ballooning with you in Brazil.
She said, I'm planning the centennial. Hello.
This is true. And then he hands her this like book about hot air ballooning. And she's like, oh, great. Yeah, I'll get to this. And throws it over the side of the basket. As they are hundreds of feet in the air, she could have killed someone.
She did. She did kill someone. She 100% killed someone.
Is that why we never see the girl from the test again?
She did. She died. Tragic accident.
So we get more of Nicole and her dad's backstory on this, or during this scene. And then we see Nicole is with Ray in the editing studio, and he is editing a video of the Electrocutes. Now, between shooting this movie and it actually coming out, the Electrocutes, the band, had changed their name from the Electrocutes to the Donnas, which is what they still are known by. I have seen the Donnas several times at Warped Tour in my youth. They are fantastic, and this movie really propelled my love for the Donnas. So, but in this movie, they are still the Electrocutes. He is editing their music video, and he uses a lot of like practical effects in the video. And so I mean, Nicole's impressed. She's like, Ray, this is really, really good. And so she's kind of like, huh, like you actually have a lot of talent and people
Right.
are kind of not seeing that.
Well, also the Donnas, they did say that essentially they had two bands and two different sounds. And so they gave the bands two different names, and they had the same people in both bands, but then they just merged the bands. I think that was always a confusion for me. I didn't know that. I just thought they changed their name. And I know a lot of people question, like, did you literally just change your name from when? Because this movie and Jawbreaker are not that far apart in time. So you're just like, when did the hell did they change their name? But I think maybe when they did Jawbreaker, they were just doing the other bands.
Sound.
Yeah. So that I'm glad that I found that, because I've always been confused by that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The scene after this is my scene. They're all going to the river. And so Nicole's like, hey, I got you something. And she says, they're the latest, and hands him some sunglasses that block no UV rays because they're just like yellow tinted glasses.
Yeah.
And then some yellow board shorts. He shows up. Every other dude that is there is wearing the exact same thing, just in different color shorts. And then all the girls are laying on these super fun, let me lean towards the microphone, super fun tubes. I love the visual effect that these tubes give during this scene is just really lovely.
But you've gone tubing before, right?
This is not tubing.
What is this?
This is just tying up some tubes and laying in it.
Oh,
Like
shit.
tubing is actually like you start at one end of the river and you float down to the other.
Like the lazy river at the pool.
I mean, there are like rapidy spots and stuff.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about just being on the river.
Uh,
All those years you've been saying, let's go tubing. I thought this was tubing. I would have been real surprised.
no, this is just laying around, happen to be in tubes.
But they're not going anywhere because the tubes are tied.
Yes, the tubes are tied up. I see what you did there.
I didn't even see it till I heard it, and that made me laugh.
Yeah, you can see like there's like an orange rope, and they're like actually tied to the bank, so they're not even like floating down the river as a pack.
So I say it's tubing just safer.
You're gonna go tubing one day, Danielle. Anywho, so after the girls are done tubing and they're now on shore, Chase and D Vine start having this conversation about how D used to be bovine.
Well, so he calls her Bo, and she's like, my
Yes.
name was never Bo. I love a bitch who will stand up for the disrespect. Her last name is Vine, and she was overweight, and some stupid boy thought it would be clever to start calling her Bovine. She lost some weight, and I guess developed in other places. I'm not sure. She got taller, whatever. And then she just said, oh, it's Divine, and changed her own name. But do we ever know what her real name is?
No.
Damn.
Although I love Keri Lynn Pratt. Like everything from the 90s, I watched her, and I think she was in Cruel Intentions too as well.
Yes,
I just
she was.
always really enjoyed her as an actress. So, but she kind of calls Chase out, and she's like, isn't this what you're doing, is kind of assimilating and like changing your persona to fit in? And so he's kind of like, huh. So she kind of puts him in his place a little bit with that, which I enjoyed, because he was kind of getting a big head because he was hanging out with all the dudes and bros and stuff, and
she grounds him for sure.
Yeah, being called ham bone, but she brings him back to earth. And then
like everyone's getting ready to pack up, to go. But at some point, Alicia, because Brad's new girl from the rival school is quote unquote tubing with them, and Alicia and her are just by themselves. And so Alicia's like, can you believe that Brad is family? They seem so normal, that they are religious nuts, pretty much, kind of like a cult.
They're in a cult. Yeah.
Which, now that we know that this was Utah, it may, because I was like, why would we go, out of all the rumors and the weird things you could come up with, why would you pull that? But now that we know it's Utah, it makes a lot more sense, because there are certain religious affiliations there that could be deemed overzealous.
Yes.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
So Kathy, the Brad's girlfriend, is concerned, and we find out later how the ripple effect of that. And then Nicole is getting ready. Everyone's packing up, and then one of the girls just says, "Oh, look at Chase messing around with some little kids or whatever with a super soaker." And she pretends, oh gosh, what am I going to do with him? But she obviously adores that he is playing with the kids and stuff like that. Yeah. And do they go to a party after this?
No, we kind of got things out of order again, because after this is when she goes to the electrocute show and then does the kiss to piss off Dulcie. So I'll have to redo that. And the Valentine's stories then too. Yeah. So the next day they're at school, and everyone's kind of smitten with Chase now. Everyone's noticing him.
Yeah. Oh,
now
that interview thing.
Oh, so I wrote the whole thing down. You ready?
Yeah.
So they asked him what is the perfect date or the perfect girl to take on a date. And he says, she's the kind of girl who will call you on your bullshit. She's not afraid to dance. She offers to pay. She doesn't decide before a date whether she's going to kiss you or not. She's not completely earnest, yet not completely ironic either. She orders dessert and she can be ready in 10 minutes. That first half of the list is everything that Nicole has done thus far.
Yeah. Yeah. So. And in this moment, he's talking to these very young girls, right? And I guess they're interviewing for a newspaper, their journal, their diary. I have no idea. In this moment, I believe Nicole is looking up because he's in the actual school, and she's sitting outside having a centennial meeting, and she's looking up and she sees him and she's daydreaming. And they're talking about the budgets, and she's like, oh, I'll go get it later in my locker. And that's when they're like, no, go get it now, bitch. So you could say, she's completely smitten, and Chase is smitten, but maybe not acknowledging it at this point. But like you said, he gives this whole list of everything that pretty much Nicole has done, or I don't know if she could be ready in 15 minutes yet, or 10 minutes or whatever, but
yeah,
can't get everything on your list.
She does have a trapper keeper 5-star, or someone has a trapper keeper or a 5-star first gear in the scene. I made note of it. So then the next scene is Nicole's talking to her mom about going to Centennial with Chase, and her mom's like, oh, he's too tall for you. I'm like, that mom is sus. She got ulterior motives.
Yeah, because she couldn't really say anything bad about him.
Read it.
So yeah, that is a suspicious thing that happens, and Nicole just brushes it off, and she's just like, whatever. Dun dun dun.
Yeah. So now they're at a party together, but they kind of they walk into the party and they kind of separate, and Chase goes to talk with the bros, and Nicole is talking with Alicia. There are butterfly clips in this scene. So 90s. Brad's trying to dance at one point.
Oh, bad.
Not great.
Because Kathy has broken up with Brad, and Brad does tell Nicole about this. He's like, I'm Lutheran. His best line yet. Bag of rocks.
And Nicole is wearing white eyeliner in this scene. So nice. This whole scene is so 90s. And
I think there's are there blow up couches and pool furniture, or is that a different party? Because that was very 90s.
I don't remember.
Okay,
He
sorry.
Yeah, I don't. We're barely keeping the timeline together. So Nicole is across the house, but she can see Alicia talking to Chase. And so Alicia asks Chase to take a shot. And then I guess she's holding the lime in her mouth. And at the last minute, I think she kind of alley-oops him, and then he ends up kissing her.
But it's like a long ass kiss. He had enough time to like remove himself from that situation, and he didn't, but he was very drunk.
Yes. And she was like, and then she's immediately like, oh, not on your life, buddy. You're dating my friend. She's a fucking psychopath.
The acting would have been Razzie ready if it was like legit. Nicole is very upset. Chase chases her as she walks out. And
at the same time, Dave has been called. He's talking to Ray in the car about how he needs to go and meet daughter Judy,
right,
who is this online girl he's been talking to and has agreed to go to Centennial with him. So then Divine and her boyfriend come out. Her boyfriend's wasted. And she's like, thanks for getting us, Dave. I can't drive his car. It's a stick. And he's like, I'll show you a stick right here. And then she said, I meant a real car, not a matchbox.
And he becomes very violent.
Oh, yes.
You know what's so funny? All the years that I've seen this movie, this was the first time the violence that. Oh.
Is that Ken?
I don't know.
So yeah, Dave pulls over the car and like tells the guy to get out because he's being so verbally abusive to Dee, and looks to probably start getting physically abusive. The boyfriend punches Dave. Dee maces him.
No, he doesn't just punch Dave. He punches Dave, throws him, knocks him on the floor. He kicks him. He spits on him. It's bad.
Yeah. And so Dee maces the boyfriend, and Dave's able to get back in the car and kind of drive away with Dee and leave him on the side of the road. So that's kind of all we see of that scene. The next scene is we're in school and it's time for the morning video announcements, morning news program. And record scratch. Snow on the screen, and up comes this highly edited video that like juxtaposes kind of the popular kids and other kids in the school with other visual images like seagulls honking and there's monkeys. There's a Nazi salute in there.
Which, how did that get by the ratings board? Like that's a huge extreme.
Yeah. It would not fly today.
Yeah, not in the slightest.
So and Ray just did this as like kind of a production of, y'all think you're so individualistic and doing such novel things, and really you're just like everyone else and conforming in some form or fashion. And so Ray gets pulled into the principal's office and reprimanded for that. And then after the tape kind of goes fuzzy, later in the day, they're actually showing what should have been shown that morning. And then we get the line, we look forward to seeing you there in your formal wear. Like, dumbest line ever.
I love when Sue, they're like, they don't realize that Ray's video is gone and they're going over the schedule. And he's like, on Tuesday, it's 8:00. On Wednesday, it's 8:00.
Yeah.
On Thursday, it's 8:05. And Sue goes, 8:05. I don't know why that makes me laugh every time, but it does. It's one of my favorite clips.
Soon after this scene, Nicole is with the whole group and they're like, oh my gosh, I hope he gets expelled, blah, blah, blah. And Nicole's like, you know what? Like, he's the most creative person in this school, and he'll be winning MTV Video Music Awards while you're still the local weather girl. Like, she starts putting everyone in their place.
I was like, damn, Sue, you gonna let her talk to you like that? Damn. I think Sue says, you're being a bitch now that Brad's available, and she's like, I'm a bitch and it's good to be a bitch anyways, or regardless, or something like that. But I think she leaves that table.
So after Nicole leaves the group, after kind of putting them in their place, she runs into Alicia, and Alicia does this like sorry not sorry thing where she's just like, oh, I'm so sorry that I'm going with Brad to Centennial. And
Nicole quickly puts her in her place and says, yeah, he asked me first, but I told him you were easy.
So boom. And now it's the night of, so how did Nicole and Chase get in a fight?
They got in a fight because he made out with what's her face, and
That's
he kept
right.
on calling her and she wasn't answering. And earlier when Chase first got his makeover, Ray didn't take it seriously, and he told Nicole if she ever needed someone to go to Centennial with, he would be her date. And that's what he does. He mooses back that hair, puts on a velvety looking jacket, and takes her to the Centennial.
And she's having a great time. Like, she's sad about Chase, but she's not doing it at the expense of Ray. She actually enjoys Ray's company. And so they're having a really good time. They're just going as friends, and like they both acknowledge that.
But Chase is not there. He is with Dolce & Gabbana at another like animal protest, because at some point Nicole they become lab partners a few scenes earlier, and she tells her why she broke up with Chase was because he wasn't about the whole animal protest stuff. And so Nicole has to like spell it out for her that, hey, this is because his mom died of cancer, and, you know, performing these things, procedures and testings on animals actually help with cancer research. And so it kind of clicks with her. So Dolce gets back together with Chase, and she's thinking everything's back to normal, but he's still sad about Nicole. And she drags him to another event. And I love I don't know if it was BuzzFeed or Hello Giggles, like one of these articles says that one of the funniest scenes is that these two have an entire breakup scene of just looking at each other. They don't even say anything, but it's like, come on, babes, let's go. And he's like, I can't. And she's like, are you serious? And he's like, I still love Nicole. And she's like, are you fucking kidding me? Nah, babe. And then he's like, yeah, I gotta go. And then she's like, damn. Oh,
but it's all in their minds.
All in their minds. It's the best breakup scene I've ever seen.
But so it's all of that is mentally happening, but really they're just staring at each other like.
Well, you know what we should do? Can we just look at each other and you take the voiceover?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you be Dolce.
Okay.
It looked like we were both having an aneurysm at the same time.
It's going to be fantastic. So we're at Centennial. Ray and Nicole are having a great time. Chase is not there yet. Dad is there because all the parents are invited.
When Chase gets there, he does run into his dad and he's like, why are you here? And he's confused.
And Nicole's dad is there too.
Oh, right. You're right. When you said dad, I was thinking of Chase's dad because he's a dad.
Are you meaning like he's a daddy?
No, I just mean like he's a real fucking father who doesn't go ballooning across the freaking world, letting his daughter throw books and killing people.
R.I.P. test girl. So Mr. and Mrs. Time Zone are announced. It's Divine and Brad, and they announce the centennial sculpture donated by the senior class. And as it is unveiled, Chase is at the top.
I'm sorry.
And he slides down the pole.
How did he not get pole burn on his hands? That's a high. He was up
He got
high.
skills.
It's called a stunt man.
Oh, and when Divine goes to dance after they announce the thingy, the sculpture.
She comes down with Dave. We find out her date is Dave.
Yes, thank you. That's what I was getting to. Is we find out that daughter Judy is actually Divine, and so Dee went to the dance with Dave, which is super sweet. And so Chase makes his way to Nicole, and
Dave gets on the mic and says, he announces Chase being on the centennial gift, which is the light bulb from Powerline from a Goofy movie.
Yes. Exactly. So Chase slides down with no lube. And so he makes his way to Nicole. While he's making his way to Nicole, actually, Ray's like, hey, I really hate to do this to you, but I got a dip. So it's like, did Ray know this was happening? Did he get a bat signal?
He saw his friends come down and he saw Nicole's face and he's like, look, I'm
gracefully bowing out.
Yeah. And she was like, it was a con, it was a scam. And he was like, okay, but then who was scamming you because you're in love?
Yeah. And so Chase gets to Nicole and she's like, hey, so now who are we making jealous? And he replies, everyone. And that's when the band starts playing, and it's the Electrocutes, and they're playing a cover version of I'm Gonna Keep on Loving You by REO Speedwagon.
But here's the thing. This dude did not apologize for a thing.
No.
So he just got pole dancing skills or pole burn, and that was it. That's all she needed.
I think she realized what a garbage human Alicia was, and that Alicia set up the whole thing.
And that him coming to prom at all was his way of saying,
right, because he did not want to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So they get home and they go to walk in Nicole's door, and Chase's dad and Nicole's mom are there, and they're like, hey, we got some news. We're moving in together. Yay. And so Chase and Nicole are kind of like assessing the situation. They're not going to deal with it tonight. Nicole's like, hey, we got the treehouse. Let's go. And so that's how the movie ends, is them running out towards the treehouse in the backyard, where I'm sure they spent many a day together in their youth.
I just want to know why they didn't just go to Chase's house. Why did they go to?
It's more romantic that way.
To go to the treehouse, there ain't no blankets or nothing in there.
It might be the treehouse from now and then. You don't know.
I saw the treehouse in the background look real sketch to me, but I do like how they insinuated that things were going to go down in Pound Town because there were.
Is that Ken or a cat?
Just make me laugh so much.
You liked how they thought
they insinuated that things were going down in Pound Town because you hear the song Wham Bam Wham, thank you ma'am, or whatever. So they got it on. So I just want to know what happens after this movie. Do they all move together?
They're one big happy incestuous family.
So gross.
It's not weird.
Cool. Not cool.
I mean, no one's technically related, but it's
weird. A little weird. Yeah. It's similar to that movie with Mandy Moore, Because I Said So, where her mom marries. Oh, he's the awful Seventh Heaven dad's in that one too. Damn it. Anywho, let's get into some facts.
And that is Drive Me Crazy.
Yay.
So now let's get into any facts we may have missed.
So I have questions about, so the movie is based on a novel for young adults by Todd Strasser, who I think helped write the movie as well. But I found two different book titles. Everywhere else says How I Created My Perfect Prom Date, but there's another version that's called Girl Gives Birth to Own Prom Date.
Danielle, that sounds like lost in translation, like the book was overseas in Asia or something and they put it into like a translator.
So no, it was on Amazon. It was super weird. And it said that he wrote it. But another weird thing is he was not happy with the final outcome of this movie. And when he was doing like tours at schools and stuff, he made that very well known, which I thought was interesting. And originally the movie was titled Next to You, but then the film's title got changed to Drive Me Crazy because of the Britney Spears song. And remember when I said that Melissa was throwing shade?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I was referencing. So she revealed that she hated the idea of naming the movie after the Britney Spears song, because Britney wasn't that big of an artist at the time. And she's like, I tried to fight Fox on it. I was like, some little teeny bopper's gonna come in and rename our movie. She's gonna be a flash in the pan. Nobody's gonna remember her in 5 years. And then our movie's gonna be named after her song. Melissa admits that she was a little wrong. A little.
A little. That's an understatement.
That's some brass cojones right there.
The role of Chase almost went to Elijah Wood. However, he reportedly looked too young next to Melissa, so Adrian was cast instead. Adrian Grenier had a 5 o'clock shadow through most of this movie.
But
maybe they went a little too old with Chase.
Yeah, but I still believe that he
was a high schooler.
Yeah, like
I mean,
it's not the worst I've seen out of these movies.
Yeah, we did have a couple of boys with full beards in high school.
Yes.
So I guess that's probable.
Yeah. Can we talk about, well, the movie's big dance scene was at the Salt Lake City State Capitol building. Apparently it hosts other school proms, real proms. So fun. And do we have anything else? I don't think so. Read the one about Andy Cohen.
Adrian told Andy Cohen on Watch What Happens Live that he initially didn't want to appear in Britney Spears' video. He said he only agreed to do it after the singer agreed to be interviewed for a documentary he was making called Shot in the Dark. Adrian released the documentary in 2002, but the Britney interview was left on the cutting room floor. I am very interested in that interview, because that whole documentary is about Adrian's estranged relationship with his father. So the interview is all about Jamie Spears. So Adrian, I'd like to see that footage, because it'd be very interesting to hear what she said at the age of 17, 18, when she made this music video and sat for that interview.
Release the tapes.
Release the tapes.
And lastly, I just wanted to put all the amazing songs that was on the soundtrack. And I'm so glad that I saw this, because I do love that Run Baby Run song by Dead Star. And I was really, really sad that it wasn't on the soundtrack. What else wasn't on there? Turbo Teen, which was the film's theme by Sugar High, but it was not on there as well. But Keep on Loving You, the version by the Donnas, was on there. You Drive Me Crazy. The Stop remix by Britney Spears was on there.
So, Some Jars of Clay, Backstreet Boys, Bare Naked Ladies, and then my favorite, Less Than Jake.
Yes, there's a lot of really good music on this soundtrack.
Really good music.
So definitely check out. I'm sure there's a playlist.
So in an interview that Melissa Joan Hart did with Good Morning America, she said that at the New York premiere, she was crying because she was on the cover of Maxim and she got fired from a movie and thought she was going to get fired from Sabrina. And she had also broken up with her boyfriend that day. And then all of the attention was on Britney Spears at the premiere of her movie. So she was having some big feelings at the New York premiere.
I was wondering if the boyfriend was the guy Gabriel from the movie.
Maybe.
And when she was interviewed by Entertainment Tonight, they were asking her about, because, you know, when she got interviewed, it was recently, about Britney and have they kept in touch. And so you could tell she was annoyed that here we go talking about Britney again.
20 years later, still talking about Britney.
Yeah. So I'm curious if she really did like Britney. She talks about how like they had to cross paths. She did tell Britney that she needed to loosen up a little bit and have fun. Like she was only 17 and she was either going to the gym or doing all these things and getting ready for shows and not really being able to be young. And so she did take her out clubbing or dancing or something like that, but I think they got in trouble. So
yeah, well, in the making of the video for Drive Me Crazy, because you know I did a deep dive after I watched this movie. It's very obvious that Britney, her schedule was tight. They had 2 days to shoot it, and then she was running off to somewhere else. Like she was on the go nonstop. She was a creative force even back then with the routines and everything. She wanted to have as much control as she could over the brand she was creating for herself, which
yeah.
I mean, I give her credit too, but I think, yeah, it lends itself very closely to being burnt out.
Yeah.
Or trying to find ways to relax in other ways.
Yeah. It's sad.
So, yep. So this movie, I am going to say it does pass the Bechdel test. So the Bechdel test, to remind you, at least 2 named women are featured. They talk to each other and they discuss something other than a man. It passes barely. There is a scene where Nicole is talking to the bicentennial or the Centennial Committee, which includes Chloe, and then Chloe's talking about the performers and the budget. At the end of this conversation, it does kind of loop back around to Nicole being smitten, but there is a conversation about something other than a man that takes place. So I'm going to say yes, but just barely.
Yeah, I think where they could have done a better job, the female friendships in this movie were atrocious. I think there could have been a better balance. What never made sense to me was that there were a bunch of other girls and how Nicole didn't have, like, her and Divine could have had a closer relationship. Mm-hmm. Where when Crazy Alicia was acting up, it wouldn't have been a problem. But yeah, the ties of the friendships were non-existent, which really sad. Missed opportunity there. Yeah. All right, Jackie. So why don't you tell me your present day rating?
Would buy it again. I own it on iTunes now. I mean, it is very flawed, but it is also a lot of fun and it brings back memories. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a nostalgic one for us. Same thing. Would buy it. I did buy it. I have the DVD upstairs. Love it. Don't care that it's problematic in some parts. Love it. If you guys agree what your present day reading is, then hit us up at No More Late Fees on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Send a comment, post in your stories, send us a DM, whatever it may be. We love to hear your ratings and your feedback. And also, we'd love to feature you guys on our episodes. So if you have any feedback, let us know and give us a call, because we have a phone number for our quick drops. Right, Jackie?
We do. 909-601 and MLF 909-601-6653. Please drop something in our quick drop. If you're international, you can leave a message on Anchor FM. Leave anything. I don't care if you call and do a song and a dance. Send us a video. We'll love it. We'll feature you on a future episode.
Yes, definitely. And stay tuned for next week as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the movie The Sweetest Thing. with our wonderful sister Heather.
You're too big to fit in here. Too big to fit in here. I am so excited. And this is going to be another movie. A lot of the movies Heather and I will do together will be highly quotable, and Danielle's going to have to suffer through it.
Well,
It's going to be great.
This one, not so much, because The Sweetest Thing was one of our movies as well, too.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It'll be cool.
Yeah. And as always, be kind and rewind. I'm fucking hungry.
Hello, no more late fees, besties. My name is Shalina, and I'm an avid listener of Jackie and Danielle's movie rewatch talks, who also has a podcast of her own. It's called Everything 90s Podcast, and it's a show I created to connect with fellow 90s kids by spending each episode reminiscing on anything and everything related to growing up in the 90s. Topics range from music, TV shows, movies, books, and games, just to name a few. So if you're interested, search Everything 90s Podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcast and give it a listen. Thank you so much, and take care.